Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
We're back for another hour of questions that you're going to actually give us, and we're going to give you the answers. Disclaimer, no cures.
None.
No cures here. So
No cures.
anything that we say is just meant for your entertainment and education, and check with your doctor before implementing anything. I'm going to jump right in.
Go.
So Marie from Connecticut is on the line. Hi, Marie.
Yes, hi. Hi, good morning, Dr. Berg.
Good morning.
Good morning, Karen.
Hi.
I have two questions. So I'm on 1 meal a day. I'm not losing any weight. My concern is that I can only eat the 7 to 10 cups of kale, and I can't fit anything else in.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know if I should back off of it or not. And my second question is, I have a 13-year-old daughter who wants to lose a little bit. She's also doing 1 meal a day, and you had told me before that kids need 3 meals a day, but she's not hungry, so do I just force her to eat 3 meals a day?
So good question. I think with you, let's start with you. The thing with kale, it's pretty nutrient dense, and there's a lot of fibers that sometimes we have a hard time digesting. So it could be not fully breaking down. It could be overwhelming the flora in your gut to the point where you're just not hungry because there's so much fiber there for your microbes to chew on. I would try to switch it up for a couple days and see how much better you do with maybe another type of lettuce, maybe just like greens, and just see if that helps you lose weight. Because let's say, for example, you're overwhelming the microbes with all this fiber, you're going to retain fluid, and that's going to keep you from losing weight. But of course, you may want to consume your other food first and then some greens, so you're not like completely filled up. The key with also your daughter and yourself is making sure you get all the nutrients. So you may need to supplement. Well, you definitely need to supplement with the electrolytes, the B vitamins, omega-3, trace minerals, especially for your daughter. You can also, I think your daughter could do 1 meal a day, but I would make sure that meal is really, really healthy, and then also take the supplements. And then if she's still not losing herself, she needs to add exercise, more sleep, reduce stress, and then give it a little bit of time. But some people, like for you, you may need to go longer fasting and just get the, especially in the beginning. Let's say you need to lose weight and you're not hungry. Just don't eat. I mean, some people just go 3 days and they're good to go. Their energy's up. They're taking supplements, but they're just burning more fat because they're fasting longer. That's definitely okay, especially in the beginning, especially if you have weight to lose. Thanks for your question. And then Chris from New York, you're on the line. Go ahead, Chris.
Hi, Dr. Berg.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to everybody. I have 2 questions for you. First question is, I have scalp psoriasis for a while now, for 5 years. Itchy skin, it's red inflamed, skin flakes, and some more of hair loss. And I have the next question is about sleep. I have dark under eye circles and it's puffy, and I get 3 to 4 hours of sleep. I was wondering if melatonin would help, because I take your sleep aid and it helps sometimes. So
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, the first question, did you say you had gastritis?
Scalp psoriasis.
Oh, scalp psoriasis. Okay. Well, there's a couple things right off the bat. If psoriasis immediately tells me that there could be a malabsorption issue, which could explain the hair. Malabsorption. So that means that there's something going on with the small intestine. You're not able to pull in these trace minerals to build up the hair, and also if there's gut issues, there could be like an immune compromised situation where your body develop antibodies against your skin and you form those plaquing. So psoriasis is an autoimmune condition. It starts at the gut. So, and then your sleep is another issue. So if we look at the absorption of vitamin D, for example, you may have a hard time pulling it in, so that can affect your sleep right off the bat. Also, you're not going to have a hard time, might have a hard time absorbing calcium, so that can affect your sleep. So I think the best thing for you would be to take some purified bile salts. You maybe want to take my gallbladder and formula and just take it on an empty stomach in the morning. Take 1 in the morning, Take one in the afternoon, one at lunch, or around your food, so it's not with the meal. So that way, you can start to stimulate the absorption of the fat-soluble vitamins, especially vitamin D. Even if you don't take D or the omega-3 fatty acids, the bile will stimulate the receptor for vitamin D and create some cool effects as anti-inflammatory effects on your skin. So you definitely need vitamin D in higher amounts, okay? Probably 30,000 IUs or maybe 40,000, because that's really good for psoriasis. The other thing that's really good is the fish oils. Cod liver oil would be better because that will give you the omega-3s for the skin as well. And then take the bile salts. That's what I would do first and see if that doesn't help you. I don't recommend taking melatonin. It might help temporarily. The only situation I would recommend melatonin is for dementia and Alzheimer's. So I'm going to release a video on that shortly, but there's some interesting studies on taking higher doses of melatonin for Alzheimer's and dementia, and stay tuned for that video. All right, Chris, thanks for your call. All right, I'm ready for a question over here, Karen.
Okay, good. So Faria on YouTube is asking, can keto cause a fatty liver? You know,
I did a video on that.
logical.
I did
Eat
a
lot of
video.
fat.
Yeah, I did a video on that. Well, even the USDA now is saying that you can actually have your fat. We no longer have to abide by the low-fat rules. So hey, then we know we're good, right? But no, it's not going to cause a fatty liver. What's going to cause a fatty liver is doing the carbs, the refined carbohydrates. Now, the other thing is if you're low in bile salts, which a lot of people are because they have a fatty liver, they can't make bile salts. So if I had a fatty liver, what I would do is I would take the purified bile salts, choline, maybe lecithin, not worry about consuming fats, and that would be what you need to do. The other fat that's really important for a fatty liver is the omega-3 fatty acids, the cod liver oil, because that will help reduce the fibrosis that happens, as the next stage. So you go fatty, inflammation, scar tissue, cirrhosis. So we want to stop that from happening. I just did an interview with this really amazing PhD in biochemistry. I think it was Dr. Tan. Fascinating data on tocotrienols and the prevention or the decreased risk of fibrosis in the liver. So anything wrong with the liver, if you could take that tocotrienols, that will be very, very beneficial, especially if you're on a keto and you're doing higher fat diets, because like I said, it's not going to be a problem doing these high fats unless you have a real fatty liver and you can't produce the bile. So in which case you just need to take bile and problem solved. That was a long answer.
So you don't even need your liver then?
It's an extra organ, just like the gallbladder, just like your appendix. It's
Just take,
called
supplements and...
the liver is just a nuisance. It just causes pain, just like the gallbladder. So take it out.
Take it out.
And,
Uterus, ovaries, thyroid.
Yeah, you're good to go.
You don't need any of that.
You need
All
Appendix,
equals weight loss.
gallbladder.
Yeah, think how much weight you're going to lose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Organs.
All right, what do we got?
Okay. I think it's Haimani from YouTube says they're fasting for 7 days and their mouth tastes terrible taste in the mouth. What can you do about that? And what would cause that?
Well, ketones do have gives a different residue. It does tend to bring people more on the acidic side. This is why I always recommend this thing called healthy keto, which involves a lot of vegetables. So you have the chlorophyll to help kind of purify things, because keto is just low carb. So if you do the low carb or dirty keto and not really increase your vegetables, and there are certain experts out there that are saying you don't need more than a cup and a half of vegetables, well then what are you going to do with all this residue and this keto potentially or acidity that happens? And it's just like people are going to feel like they have the breath, and they're not going to have the fiber for the colon as much. So I recommend a good amount of greens or plant-based with the keto to prevent this bad taste in your mouth or bad breath. But that's just me, Karen. Just a recommendation. Try,
Entertainment purposes.
try, you know, try it both ways and see which way you feel better on.
That's right. That's right. Okay, on Facebook, Nausea, can you give xylitol to kids?
Yeah, you can give xylitol to kids, but this brings us into another question, the first quiz of the day. What's worse for a dog, xylitol or actual sugar? Now, xylitol is a sugar alcohol. It's low on the glycemic index, so it doesn't cause you to gain weight too much. So what is
Worse for a dog.
worse for a dog, xylitol or
real
just direct sugar? Go ahead and give us your answers right here. And while they're answering that, Karen,
What does Karen eat?
let me go to Kathy from California. Kathy, are you there?
Yes, hi.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My question is, I don't have a gallbladder,
Okay.
so I've been taking in the morning, I've been taking your gallbladder formula with the wheatgrass juice and the electrolytes together. And then around between 12 and 2, I take my fats and my proteins, and then I get full. So then an hour later, I get my veggie solution that you have. So I take that. So every meal that I have, I take the gallbladder solution so I could absorb my nutrients. Am I doing that right?
Yes, yeah. You know, I'm just really, lately I'm just really into this bile thing, and what happens if you don't have enough bile, it just goes way beyond just the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins. But what happens, this is the big thing right here, Kathy. The gallbladder concentrates the bile by a factor of 10 times more. So, okay, so what does that mean? It means that your gallbladder contracts when you eat, and now you have this super concentrated bile, which is going to actually not just prevent stones, but it's going to help you more efficiently extract nutrients from the food that you eat. Now, if you don't have a gallbladder, you do not get the concentration of bile. So now we have a dilute form of bile that's coming down, trickling down at a certain rate, not necessarily when you eat, just all the time. So you're just not going to have the concentration or the amount to extract. And so if you look up some of the long-term complications of lack of bile or bile deficiency, or when you have your gallbladder out, there's a lot of things that happen to the eyes. There's a lot of other symptoms. Over 40% of people have symptoms, and then some people say, "Oh, it's not a problem." Yeah, it is a problem. You need that bile. Also, the bile keeps all of the flora, the good bacteria and the bad bacteria, from growing in the small intestine to prevent SIBO. So it does a lot. It does a lot. And when you're taking the veggie solution, you're taking the greens with the fiber. So now your colon can start to use that fiber and make more secondary bile. So the microbes now make bile, and so now you do have some bile with that, but those guys are just going to send that back up to the liver for some formation of the primary bile. So yes, you're doing the right thing. It's a long answer. Thanks, Kathy. Karen, what do we have on as far as an answer goes?
The vast majority of people said xylitol will kill your dog. There were some people that said sugar.
Okay, so the answer is, what's worse is?
I feel like this is a trick question. I know dogs should not have xylitol.
Right, you're right. So xylitol is worse for a dog.
Okay.
Okay, and what does it do? It basically severely drops their blood sugar. So what's going to happen, it raises insulin, and it's going to drop the blood sugar. So you're going to end up with what's called hypoglycemia, low blood sugar.
So if that happens to a dog, why would people eat it?
Because it doesn't create the same effect on humans or other animals.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So your dog will end up with low blood sugar, and they might get shaky, weak. If they have a lot, and I'll do a video on this as well, they might have liver damage, things like that. And so you'd bring your dog to the vet, and they would inject the dog with glucose to raise the sugar. That's how they handle it. So, I mean, my thought is, like, in a pinch, if you're stranded somewhere and your dog ate your gum that's filled with xylitol and some other things,
give them sugar.
Give them some sugar and see what happens. You know, I mean, that's one option. But it usually takes like 20 minutes for the symptoms to kick in. But that is why, Karen, that you don't feed your dog xylitol. And xylitol is actually it's in even certain deodorants. It's in gum. It's in some lotions sometimes. It's in, of course, keto treats.
It's in nasal spray. So tell
Really?
why it's in nasal spray. You told me.
Oh, nasal spray. Yeah, that's right. Because xylitol helps to reduce bacteria. It's an antibacterial effect in your sinuses.
Fascinating.
Yeah. It's also anti-plaque. So you can, it won't create that effect, that plaque in your teeth like sugar will. It's because it can't necessarily be fermented like sugar.
Wow. A lot of entertainment in that 1 minute.
Yes. All right.
Okay, want to take a call?
Yep. Okay, so Tamara, Long Beach, California. What's your question?
Hello.
Hello.
My question. Hi. My
Hi.
question is, I've been following you for keto, and it's been working for me. So recently, I was diagnosed with having osteoporosis because of the parathyroid gland. So I watched the YouTube videos on D3 and K2, and I began taking that and fish oil. So then recently, I learned that B12, folate, and another, I think omega-3 were low. So I am scheduled to have the parathyroid glands, whatever ones are abnormal, removed on Tuesday. And I really would like to avoid that if I could, with knowing the proper amount of vitamins and the right balance for my hormones to be in balance. I believe that the parathyroid glands probably got abnormal when I would start going through the changes because of the loss of hormones, and I didn't know it. So it's been there for like 10 years, but recently you could feel the pain in my bones. I didn't know what it was. And I had to take 2 CT scans, and then so they found it in my back and my arms.
Wow. Okay.
So how do I proceed with my vitamins and minerals?
Yeah, I think this is a good question because people tend to think that osteoporosis is simply a calcium deficiency when it's not actually true. It's not a calcium deficiency. It's usually a vitamin D problem. I think you may have told me that you're low in vitamin D. I wasn't sure. I know you said omega-3 and 6 and things like that. You need all these cofactors to help you build bone. B6. You need the trace minerals, boron, for sure, and there's several others too. So what I would do if I were you is I would take a really good trace mineral product, and I would probably beef up, no pun intended, take a lot of that, and probably a lot of shellfish, so that'll either have more trace minerals. I would also, if you take a look at menopause, going through that, you're going to be usually deficient in vitamin E as a primary deficiency. So I would not take tocopherol, I would take tocotrienols, and that would be very helpful, whatever it's recommended in the dosage, just to support whatever has been stressed during the menopause, because that was the trigger. But during menopause, you have a spike in cortisol, so we need to reduce cortisol. So yes, you're taking the vitamin D, K2, which is vitally important, but make sure that you do whatever you can to reduce cortisol. There's a great video called the Stress Webinar. I would recommend watching that and following those techniques to extract stress. But to build bone, instead of taking calcium, I would get your calcium from maybe high quality cheese, take the trace minerals and the omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin E, good cod liver oil. That's what I would do if I were you. And thanks for following our videos. I appreciate that. All right, Karen, are you ready for another quiz then we can go right to one of your questions?
Okay.
Okay, so what can you guys do to enhance the phytonutrients from your vegetables? Okay, there's some things that you can do to spike your phytonutrient availability, bioavailability.
I'm going to interject here because you're assuming that everybody watching knows what a phytonutrient is and that it is even part of a vegetable.
So when you eat vegetables, you have nutrients, vitamins, minerals, but you also have the phytonutrients. You ever heard of lutein or beta-carotene? Okay, So all those carotenoids, carotene type things, okay? Isoflavonoids, sulforaphane. So all these phytonutrients that are in plants that give the different colors.
And phyto means?
That means a plant.
That makes sense.
Yep. And so what I want to know is, how do you get those? See, they're fat soluble. A lot of them are fat soluble. So how are you going to get them out of that vegetable and into your body? How can you enhance that? Go ahead and answer that question. And then you have some questions. So let's take those
we've
up.
got questions. Okay, so I believe it's Dina on Facebook. She's 54-year-old, and she wants to know your thoughts on histamine intolerance and menopause.
Well, I did a video on that, and I think you should watch it, because I go into the foods that are high histamine, and a lot of it's like they're little abstract different foods that are triggering this histamine reaction. But I'm going to tell you, one of the most important things if you do have a histamine sensitivity is that you need to do intermittent fasting, because I believe that doing that over a period of time will get rid of that problem. In addition, help decrease the risk of having allergies in general and sensitivities. So when you do fasting, it seems to improve the immune system, and allergies tend to go away. Now, don't quote me. That's just my good guess.
I can attest. I'm a witness.
Do we have a witness? Okay, good.
Because I used to have really severe spring allergies.
No, that's
Seasonal
right. You
allergy.
don't have it anymore.
And allergy to cats.
That's right.
Now, I can't say I don't have any reaction to cats, but I've certainly hung around and pet cats and snuggled with cats, and no reaction at all. And previously, if I was in a house and a cat lived in that house, I would end up with welts and things like that. Almost no seasonal allergy. So there you have it.
Yeah, so that's
I'm one person, but
that would be if you have allergies, sinus, asthma, you fast. Of course, vitamin D will also help as well.
okay, good.
All right.
Okay, and Mohammed on Facebook is asking, is barley flour okay for keto?
That's a negatory. No, you can't have barley flour. I'm sorry.
Sorry about that.
Sorry
I know
about
it's
that.
really hard to figure out how to bake and cook and things like that. So YouTube, I don't know who this was, but why would you bloat if the cause isn't SIBO?
Well, there's other reasons. It's not just a fermentation of fiber in your small intestine, but you could be bloating because you have you could be eating things like gluten, for example, that can irritate the small intestine. You can have a lack of stomach acids that won't let you break down your proteins, and that the food just sits there and it's undigested food. Or you can have a lack of bile salts, which is very common, and so now you can't digest the fats. So if the food sits right here and it doesn't have the enzymes, the bile or the acid to break it down, you're going to have bloating, pain in your midsection right through here. So there's many reasons.
So you just have to pick one and try it out?
No. You have to watch my video on the digestive system to determine, is it more of this or more of that? Because I go through, like, is it more, do I need enzymes? Do I need stomach acid? Do I need bile? Going by the symptoms, because there's a whole set of symptoms for stomach acid deficiency versus enzyme versus bile deficiency. And just so you know, Karen,
yeah,
the gallbladder formula that we have has in there bile, enzymes, and betaine hydrochloride. So I'm not saying to take that, but if you wanted something that could help you, you might want to try that. On that note of plugging our own products, this is a new product right here called Electrolyte Powder. It's lemonade, and it's a jumbo size. It's twice the volume, but not twice the cost. It's just a little bit more cost, but you get double the volume, so you can check this out. It's on our website. It's also on Amazon.com. Lemonade. It's pretty tasty. I like it.
Well, I like the bigger size because, I know we go through a lot of electrolytes, and when you have a whole family using one tub, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I opened it, licked my finger, and stuck it in. Dr. Berg got very mad, but I just wanted to try it out. So are you going to sell that one, Doc, or is that going to go out of inventory?
No, we're going to put this to the side, Steve. Thanks for telling me.
Sorry, I
You
hope I
know,
didn't
I don't-
screw up.
It's okay. I don't believe in the germ theory, so I'm going to take that one home with me.
It was delicious, everyone, by the way. I recommend it in water, not on your baby finger, but just follow label
Oh,
instructions.
gosh.
I mean,
You know, he knows how to get
a lot
products,
of
doesn't he?
a lot of kids like orange drinks. Remember Tang growing up? So we have
I
a
do.
we have a electrolyte that's orange flavor, but this is a lemonade. I mean, you can't go wrong with lemonade.
Right.
But let's see what people are answering with this question on how do you enhance your phytonutrient from your vegetables?
Well, why don't you take one more short question or why don't you just tell us, and I'll look for that because it's a little more, not a yes or no.
Okay.
What is the value of sulforaphane?
Sulforaphane it does a lot of things. It helps the detoxification of the liver. If you if you have toxins and poisons and you want to clean the liver, it's very anti-cancer. It's a very powerful antioxidant. But sulforaphane is in broccoli sprouts, and even Johns Hopkins University tried to get the patents on broccoli sprouts because they saw this huge connection between it decreasing risk for cancer. And also, these phytonutrients, including sulforaphane, decrease the complication of chronic inflammation and chronic inflammatory problems. So they're very beneficial for a lot of issues and also as a preventative thing. And so the question is, how do you extract these key phytonutrients from the food? Because a lot of times they're fat soluble. What you can do, there's 3 things you can do, Karen.
Oh,
You
we're not
can-
waiting for the answer.
Oh, you want to say it?
Well, no, I mean, it's very hard to find these answers because there's so many other questions and it's like a sort of an explanation answer. But one person says pairing your vegetables with fruits. I don't know that people really, did you guys answer this question?
All right, let me just tell them.
Just go ahead and
what
tell
you want to
them
do is because they're fat soluble, guess what? If you have
More
oil
fats.
or fat, for example, there are phytonutrients that are in cucumbers, for example, which are very similar to the ones in cruciferous vegetables, and they're very important. And so what I like doing is take the cucumber and putting in hummus with the tahini butter. That's one way. That's an oil. Having your salad with olive oil is another way. Maybe sauteing, and then the second thing is sauteing your vegetables. So if you slightly cook your vegetables, that releases these phytonutrients. So you can do that, or you can ferment your vegetables. So the thing is that when you go buy pickles at the store, most of them are just pickled. That's not fermented. They just basically put a little acid in there, and then you think you're getting a ferment.
Oftentimes sugar.
Right. So you want to make sure it says on they're fermented, like Bubby's brand pickles. That's real fermented.
They like bubbies.
So the fermentation will enhance the phytonutrients and also your digestive system. So always go with the fermented if you have an option, Karen. Okay?
Yes. Good.
All right, let's go to Susan from Ontario. Are you there?
Hello, hi.
Hi.
Hi, my question is, my whole family, history, they are diagnosed with the diabetes. My mom, she's in her 80s, and my brother is in his 40s, myself. And lately my niece, we all got the diabetes, and my niece, she's diabetes now, type 1. And we all taken insulin shot. My question is it safe to quit the insulin and do the diet keto?
Good question, and that's definitely something I will not be answering directly, but I want to tell you something, because I can't tell you not to take any medication. Do we have that on record? But this is the thing. If you're type 1, type 2, it's very important that you actually are on keto. Now, why? Because let's take type 1. Type 1 is you're not able to produce insulin, so now you have to take it. So why would you take insulin? To reduce blood sugar. So there's side effects from a lot of insulin. So why not just reduce the carbs to decrease the insulin, the necessity of taking that? So you will actually just take less insulin if you're type 1, and you just monitor it. if you're on keto and intermittent fasting. So that would be really good because you'll live longer without taking extra insulin. The more carbohydrate, the more insulin you have to take. Type 2 is a different problem. It's an insulin receptor problem where you have way too much insulin being pumped out initially, but you have insulin resistance, so it's dysfunctional. So same thing, you need low carbs to decrease that whole mechanism and do fasting. So yes, your whole family needs to do keto and intermittent fasting, and just check your blood sugars to make those adjustments because you will end up needing less. I'm never going to say that you'll be completely off of it, but a lot of people that are type 2 are now taking insulin because they're developing 1.5 diabetes or double diabetes.
Karen.
Pardon me, I'm reading this question, and I'm like, wait
So I
a
want to
second.
see if you. So there is such a thing as
You're
one
eating 2
point.
teaspoons of sugar a day.
Okay,
and
hold
you're
on. I have to
intermittent-
answer this question.
Okay, go ahead.
So if you have type 1
Right.
and you have a problem with the production of insulin and a problem with receiving, you're a 1.5. You're a 1.5 diabetic 1.5.
And why did you need me for this?
Because I think I might have been talking about 1.5s recently, and
You did.
Yeah, he
I
did.
learned
That's
about
right.
it with my
He looked
morning
at
coffee.
you. He was staring at you, Karen. I just wanted to. I had your back, and he was looking at you. So
Was he adoring me?
Well, yeah, that's what it looked like
And
to
he
me.
was just.
Absolutely.
Then he was like, "Oh, I'm adoring her," but
He was. It was a very loving look, and it was breaking up the show, so I thought I'd call a halt to it.
okay.
Okay.
thanks for your question, Susanna. Susan. Okay. All right. Give me a question, Karen.
Okay, good. So Cindy's asking a question. I'm not completely sure I get it, Cindy, but we're going to take it from 2 different sides here. Why not intermittent fasting if bout of fatigue? So the question is either, can I intermittent fast if I'm already feeling fatigued, or what if I feel fatigued during intermittent fasting? Answer them both, and then hopefully we've answered the question.
Well, this relates to a video that I will be releasing next week. You don't want to do periodic fasting. It's brutal on the body. It's brutal on your blood sugars. It's brutal on your brain. You're going to feel irritated. You're going to get tired big
You don't
time.
want to do periodic fasting?
No, you don't. You want to do consistent fasting. So this fast, like every so often, very, very bad.
You mean, so somebody would have like the standard American diet. They're snacking, they're
Yeah.
eating all this crap, they're eating, anything and everything, and then they go, okay, well, I'm going to not eat anything this weekend.
Yeah, because here's the thing. It takes 3 days to get into ketosis. So you're going to feel miserable for 3 days, and then all of a sudden you're going to go back to your diet. So
But what if you're eating a ketogenic diet, so you're not eating carbs, but you're not necessarily, maybe some people don't realize that fasting even includes if you just cut back and only have breakfast and then a lunch and then a dinner. That for some people is the first step of fasting, but
just because you're not snacking. So
Right.
we're reducing the frequency. But the point for what she's saying is that if you're tired and you're fasting, that just means either you haven't adapted yet because either your carbs are too high or you haven't given enough a time to work, like 3 to 7 days, or you need to take your electrolytes, like a lot of potassium or B vitamins. A lot of people are deficient. So they start doing this, they feel like crap because they're already deficient, and then if you don't eat, everything's magnified. So that's why I always recommend supplementing while you're fasting electrolytes, especially potassium and B vitamins.
And what about salt?
Yes, sea salt. The more keto you do, the more salt. You need a little bit more salt than if you weren't on keto. So let's say, for example, you're fasting for a whole day and you have no sea salt. Your blood pressure might go down and you might feel kind of tired. You might feel weak. So do the sea salt. You can add some in some water and drink it down. And probably like a level teaspoon would be enough for 1 day. Now, if you exercise, do you realize that professional football players in the heat when they're in practice can lose up to 6,000 milligrams of sodium? That's like a massive amount of sodium. So they have to be down in that salt. Unfortunately, they don't know about potassium because they need more potassium too, so they end up have fluid retention and that type of thing. All right.
Okay, I have another question.
Yeah.
Muhammad is asking about, and he's not saying that there's any keto or intermittent fasting diet happening, but frequent urination, not that you would diagnose that, but what could cause frequent or contribute to frequent urination just in your day-to-day life?
There's two causes of frequent urination. One is that you do have high sugar, okay, which means you need to do keto and IF. High sugar, wherever the sugar goes, the water goes, so it just, your body's dumping this glucose and as a detox, and there goes the water. But there's another reason too, increased thirst and increased urination. That is that you have too much calcium in your body. It's not as common. It's called hypercalcemia. And so if you don't have a blood sugar issue, do a blood test to check for high calcium levels, and that will be why you have that. And then you might want to check your parathyroid. All right.
There you have it.
Okay, so let's go to Ray from New York City. Are you there, Ray?
Hey, Dr. Berg.
Hi.
Great stuff, man. Great stuff as usual.
Thanks.
Before I start, could you do a video? I've seen like all of your videos. Could you do a video on the different types of magnesium, like glycinate and taurate and malate? Because I have no idea which the difference. But my question is on potassium. First of all, I take your electrolyte powder, and I'm fasting, doing the 4 hours eating window, 20 hours off. And I want to know, could you drink the potassium while you're fasted? Because it doesn't specify if there are any sugars in there on the back of the box or anything like that. But this is actually part of the second question is I ran out, and I'm definitely interested in that lemon potassium you got going on there. But I wanted to know if you can drink like Gatorade Zero while I'm like waiting, or is that too much sucralose, or is sucralose bad? Is that like the enemy? Am I going to die, or what's up?
Yeah, you are going to die eventually, but not now. But yeah, so the first question is that you could totally do these electrolytes on an empty stomach. Yes, you can do, and that's when I do them. I don't do them with meals. And no, there's no sugar in there. The carbs are less than 1 gram. So there's stevia, sweetened, and then you have minerals. So that's not going to be a problem. Okay, and then the other question was, what was his other question?
Ray?
Gatorade Zero.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, no, I would not recommend that because, first of all, there's hardly any potassium in there. They throw a little salt in there and then some type of artificial sugar or sugar. So I wouldn't go that route. That's just my opinion. But thanks for your question, Ray. And I will do that video on magnesium because I have it all prepared. I just haven't done it yet. Okay, good.
Well, I just see that Brian is saying there's a hurricane coming toward Houston, so he's got to watch later. But hey, stay safe. For real, because in a hurricane, you need to be safe. Otherwise, be healthy.
I just have to say, one time we were supposed to have a hurricane that comes through, and I said, yeah, we're too far inland. It's not going to be an issue.
Oh, I remember.
And then we go outside. This is like the day before.
A big picnic.
Yeah, so you had all these
Everything
tents
was
out
set
there.
up.
So we walk out there, and we're in the backyard. It's like 10 o'clock at night, and you're saying, okay, we got to take this stuff in. I'm like, no. And all of a sudden, the trees start to blow, and all of a sudden the trees start bending.
Within seconds.
I ran as fast as I could in the house because there was a hurricane, and it was quite intense.
It was called a derecho or something like that.
Well, I don't want to get sidetracked, but let me just go to, let's go to Maty from San Antonio, Texas. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you. Good morning. Hi, Karen.
Hi.
Yes, I have a question about the gallbladder formula. Before I ask the question, I have a chronic pain in my left eye, and I was like irritable bowel syndrome that diagnosed a long time ago. But I've been taking the apple cider vinegar for a year, and actually it helped me, eat the bacon and all that I couldn't eat before. but I want to give her a try to the gallbladder formula. And I took it last night because I ordered it recently. And after an hour, I have like puffy eyes. And my question was, what is the side effect? Because I urinated a lot last night also. And I want to know what is the side effect.
I missed something. You said you had something. You had a side effect. What was the side effect?
I'm sorry?
What was the side effect? I missed what you said. You said something had a side effect?
Oh, what is the gallbladder formula side effect?
Oh,
because
what is
I
side
have
effect?
puffy eyes after an hour that I took it, I have puffy eyes.
Puffy
I
eyes.
don't know if there's anything
Puffy
in
eyes.
there. Yes.
Gallbladder
Okay.
formula.
Well, you know, here's some side effects from the gallbladder. If you have an ulcer, for example, that can irritate it. If you have some type of, if you have too much bile, that can make it worse. But typically, if you take it on an empty stomach, it's going to relieve the pain on your bloating and things like that. And also, it allows the flow of bile to go through the body a lot better. So you may want to try it one more time and see how you feel, because you normally should feel better. And if you still have an issue, if you see a difference, then you take it with the meal. But it shouldn't necessarily be responsible for puffy eyes. There's two counterindications for bile. One is if you have hyperthyroidism, okay? Because when you take bile, it helps you convert more thyroid hormones. So it's good for hypo, but not hyper. So that's one thing. But you would know that if your eyes are kind of bulging out. And the other thing is diarrhea. If you have diarrhea, you don't want to take more bile, because bile is, it helps you, it's like a laxative. So you don't want to take a laxative if you have diarrhea. So those are the two contraindications. Thanks for your call. All right, Karen.
Yeah.
You have a question?
Yeah.
All right.
Long-term keto and constipation. What could cause that?
I personally think it comes back to the bile deficiency, because bile is a lubricant. It's has a laxative effect. And then when you do a keto diet, what's unique is that you have more fat. And if you don't have the bile reserves because maybe you have a fatty liver or some issue with that, now you're going to be deficient. You can't handle these fats and you get constipated. So that's what I would try first. Also, you might want to add more fiber from like vegetables. That should help you. Those are some things I would do, but it has to do with either the flora or the bile. That's what I would do.
Okay, good.
Now let's go to Yousef from Dallas, Texas. Are you there?
Hey, Dr. Berg, how are you doing?
Hi, great.
Oh, yeah. Me and my wife were on healthy keto for a year and a half now. We are doing perfect. Our life. My wife, she's 7 months pregnant. The baby is excellent, healthy, and amazing. Lately, she was tested positive with COVID-19. Now she's doing good. She doesn't have anything or any symptoms. She's back to work. But her doctor, she recommended aspirin for the next 3 months of her pregnancy, which I said no, and we can take ginger and turmeric and other, organic stuff. So what do you recommend?
Why are they recommending aspirin?
Her doctor, she said because she might have blood clot because of the COVID-19.
I got it.
So she recommended the aspirin for her.
Yeah, this is another question. I can't tell you not to take. Don't take that. I can't say that. But here's what I would say. Mm-hmm. There's a couple things that you could do potentially that could benefit the thickness of the blood, like vitamin E, omega-3 fatty acids. Both of those help to naturally thin the blood. The other thing too is that, just as a side note, with this baby, is to make sure that you raise the DHA or cod liver oil. They even have little drops for infants that you can start, unless your wife's breastfeeding, and then you would give it to your wife. But so many little kids are deficient in omega-3 fatty acids, and you need that for the development of the retina, the brain development, and also trace minerals. But that's what I would do if I were you. But I can't tell you not to take that, but there are some things that will thin the blood naturally, and then I guess that's all I could say on that point.
All right. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. All right. Karen?
Yes.
Let me take Sharon's call. Well, I'm not going to take the call, but I just can see it says no gallbladder with diarrhea on keto. Sharon had a question. She's from Alberta. No gallbladder with diarrhea on keto. When you have your gallbladder removed, sometimes you end up with side effects, and one would be diarrhea. And so there's a certain, that means that there's too much draining out of the liver. There's too much bile draining out of the liver, and you need to take, I think it's called a bile sequestrant, or so it's a type of medication that slows down the bile release. And so that's the one that
See
I
your
would
doctor.
recommend. Yeah.
If it's a medication, right?
Are you there, Sharon?
Yes.
So you might want to turn down your sound there for a second.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I was on the healthy keto for 12 weeks, and 6 of it was good, and 6 of it was diarrhea. But I was still. My husband was on it with me at the same time, and he responded so well. He's lost 50 pounds since then.
Wow.
But I never got the health feeling. I was always tired. I was always hungry, and then the diarrhea started. And after 6 weeks of that, I gave up.
Okay.
So I need a plan to stay on it and squash the hunger and get the energy.
So I want you to try a couple things, and then stay in communication with us as well in future live events like this, so we can help you. But there's a couple things that you want to do if you don't have a gallbladder too. I think, especially if there's diarrhea. I thought that you had your gallbladder out and then you start getting diarrhea, but I think this occurred on keto. I think what I would recommend is to adjust the amount of greens that you eat and fiber. I probably would go way down to maybe even 1 cup a day, or even try carnivore, because some people have an imbalance with their flora, and they're going to have diarrhea when they have too much fiber. So that would be one thing that I would do right off the bat. If that solves the problem, then great. But let's say, for example, you stop having diarrhea after that, right? Make sure you're taking the electrolytes, because with diarrhea, you're losing all your electrolytes and trace minerals, so that could make you tired and you're not going to feel that great. So I would, but if that helps you, then what you want to do is take some purified bile salts, because of this. Without a gallbladder, you're not going to be able to extract these fat-soluble vitamins. So you're going to have a hard time getting the benefits of a lot of these fat-soluble vitamins, but also minerals that are absorbed with the fat-soluble vitamins, like magnesium and even calcium. So do that, even do carnivore, and see if you feel a little bit better, and see if you can get some benefits on the keto. And I just want to make a note, Karen, to to everyone. For the next 2 weeks, we won't be doing the show, so we'll try to actually do a live YouTube or a Facebook, but we won't do the show for the next 2 weeks. But then the third week we'll do this. But we will be doing the summit. So at the end of this month, which is next week, it's actually the 29th and 30th, the Keto Summit is going to be happening. And you guys should definitely sign up for that. We put a link down below, and it's going to be exciting. I mean, the speakers are amazing.
Incredible.
Yeah. So
super nice people, just so competent, and they really know their stuff.
Filled with knowledge.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
All right, Karen, what do we have as a question over here?
Well, both Linda and Carrie want to know, and maybe you already touched on this, how can you have too much bile, and how do you know if you have too much bile?
You're going to have diarrhea. That's the big thing. So there are so many things that happen when you're deficient in bile. Like, you'll have inflammation and fullness on the right side. So when you take bile, it just kind of it just pushes things through the liver. But if you have too much, you will get diarrhea. So that would be one of the side effects. Also, if this bile is backed up, it can then cause what's called bile regurgitation or bile reflux, where the bile comes up into the stomach. That can create gastritis and ulcers.
But is that from too much bile?
No, it's actually from everything is blocked up and it's backing up through the system. So it's actually too much bile in the wrong place.
Okay, and just to confirm, does that mean that you would not take bile salts? Is
No,
that the same thing?
you want to take them because it's counterintuitive, because you think, oh my gosh, it's backed up if I take it. But if you take it, it will release it from the liver and it allows the drainage, because here's the thing, when you don't have enough bile, things become very sludgy. You can have buildup of cholesterol, you can develop stones. It's called bile sludge, and it's just like it kind of backs up and it clogs everything up.
Fair enough. So Ashita, I believe that's how you say it on YouTube, is asking, do you know of any books on keto that you would recommend?
No, I couldn't help you out with that. I really can't help you with that. But if I come up with a book, I will let you know. I'll let you know if I think of any books.
Nothing comes to
No,
mind?
nothing comes to mind.
Okay, Ashita, sorry about that. Well, if anything does come to mind.
I will let her know.
Shameless plug.
Catalina is from Orange, California. Are you there?
Hi, Dr. Berg.
Hi.
Yes, I am.
Great.
Hi, Dr. Berg. Hi, Karen.
Hi.
Hi. Hi. I wanted to call because I used to be on keto, and of course, I was always messing up, not losing weight. And then I got on this other diet, very, very lean, meats and vegetables, and no carbs. I want to get back on keto. I lost 15 pounds on this other diet, but I know that I know keto is healthier for me. Now that I lost these 15 pounds, will I damage anything, or what should I expect my body to go through once I go from lean to fat?
I think you're going to be fine. I think the problem with going a lean protein is, number one, you're going to spike insulin. So I think your results now will be better. And the second thing is that when you do lean protein, or definitely these diets that have powdered proteins, it's really hard on the liver and hard on the gallbladder. So by now doing this whole fat, whole protein, just as nature is provided, you're going to find that there's going to be less stress on your liver and the gallbladder. And I would just go with that. But yeah, you don't want to go low fat. I mean, if you take a look at over 40 years, they've been recommending low fat. But in 2015, the guidelines came out where they changed their viewpoint that you could, now there's no restriction on fat. But you don't even hear about it in the news because it's kind of a silent little comment they made in the new guidelines. You'd have to read it. So even the labels now, if you look at the labels under, it says saturated fats, and it'll say percent of DV, and they're still operating off of, you want to keep your fats down below 20 to 30 grams of the total calories. They should take that thing right off. They should take away saturated fats right off the label, because based on their guidelines in 2015, they actually acknowledge there's no evidence to show that this fat is bad. So even for weight loss, even for heart problems. So you should not be afraid of eating fat, because even the USDA says that you can have fat now.
Well,
okay?
And if they say it,
then we know it's true.
That's right.
Okay. Let's go to Zhanna while you find some questions. And she's from Indiana.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, hi.
Hi, Dr. Berg. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Yes, question. I'm doing keto and intermittent fasting daily. I also do prolonged fasting. I watch your video regarding legs. I have aching pain in legs. It's kind of like someone tearing up my veins under my knees. I take your Adrenals nutritional yeast, liquid B12, bile, niacin, and vitamin E also, I cannot take vinegar because when I acidified my stomach, I have pain, and I don't eat a lot of vegetables because I'm bloating. I went to nutritionist. He gave me Cardio Plus, magnesium lactate, calcium lactate for legs, and gastrix for stomach. But I still have a pain, and I was thinking maybe I have thick blood. I cannot find the right way. Could you please advise?
Yeah, I think you're taking all the right nutrition. You obviously went to Standard Process. I mentioned Standard Process products. The fact that you're bloating tells me that you need to work on your flora, your good bacteria. But I would do some of the manual techniques for your knee. If you watch my video under knee pain and you just type in knee pain, I have a lot of different techniques that you can do acupressure on the front part of your thigh to help the back part of your knee. And there's various stretches that you can do to help balance your knee. That's the area I would go if I were you. But that's just a suggestion. All right, what do we have over here?
Okay, so is keto safe if you have high cholesterol?
Especially. In fact, and most people actually helps reduce cholesterol, especially the type of cholesterol that you don't want. I mean, I will say that we tested your cholesterol, and your LDL was really high. But we actually did a specialized test which looked deeper into the different types of LDL, and you had really good LDL, and you didn't have bad LDL, because there's two different types of LDL.
I have good fluffy LDL.
Yes, they're fluffy. They're not clogging up your arteries because they're coming from saturated fats. They're not coming from the unsaturated oils and like the things like that. Hey, this leads to the next question.
Okay.
Why do nuts tend to irritate your gallbladder? What's in a nut that would irritate your gallbladder, Karen?
Good question.
So answer that question.
Okay.
And let's take a question from you.
Okay, so what's your take on fulvic or humic acid? And I don't know what either one of those are, so you may want to start there.
It's kind of like an ancient seabed. They have these, through the earth, they have these different layers of trace minerals and fulvic and humic acids from the earth. I love them. I think they're great. I think it's very beneficial. I think you're going to get a lot of benefit just to support your gut, support your trace minerals. I will do a video on it because it's actually very interesting, but I do recommend it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, do a video on that one.
Which one?
This, the acids.
Yes. Yes, Karen. Thank you for that idea there, because I was running out of ideas. Fulvic, okay. Let's go to Bianca from California. Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Berg and Karen. Thank you.
Sure.
My body seems to want to get back to the set point. I do great IF and keto for 10 days, and then it's like this other person takes over my body, and I just go carb crazy. I'm not hungry. I'm not anything. But I eat everything in sight just to get back to that set point. I don't want to do it. Please help.
Okay. So the set point is a point where you will gravitate to. Your body likes to be at a certain weight. It doesn't like to go below that. I'm sure most people, especially women, have a set point. They're like, oh, I just can't seem to get past this one point. That is purely a problem with insulin resistance. It's the degree of insulin resistance and the amount of insulin in your body that's keeping you from going lower. So what I would do is shift your gears to supporting and eliminating insulin resistance. So there's certain nutrients you can take. Berberine is a really good one for that. Apple cider vinegar, fasting, keto, that's all great. But there's one more thing that I think is going to help you, because you said you don't have an appetite, but you keep eating. Coming full circle to a new topic that you probably never heard me talk about, and that's bile salts. If you take bile salts, you're going to get super satisfied. Bile salts are good for your blood sugars. It's going to help your liver. It's good for insulin resistance. And you're just going to extract more phytonutrients and more nutrients from the food you're already eating to satisfy the brain to turn off that switch. So I think that's the missing element with what you need. And you could take it on an empty stomach, a few during the day. I mean, you don't need more than 3 per day, but I think that's what you need. But the goal should be to lower insulin resistance. I have a video on that. You can check it out. All right, what do we have for the answer to that question about the nuts?
A couple different answers: lectins, omega-6, oxalates, and phytic acid.
Okay, so you guys are correct on a lot of those. But there's something even bigger that irritates the gallbladder, and that is the omega-6 fatty acids.
That's what.
Oh.
It's right here, omega-6.
I tuned out.
I didn't note down
That is
who
correct.
said that, but.
So that is a correct statement. Omega-6, it's very high in omega-6. The only nut that has a precursor for omega-3 is the walnut. But who needs walnuts nowadays? So the thing is that they're high in omega-6 and very low in omega-3. And that's what irritates the gallbladder, especially if you guys do other types of like vegetable oils. Oh my gosh, it's going to tear up your bile ducts and your gallbladder. You're going to be irritated. And they're really hidden in restaurant food. When you go out to eat, they don't tell you this, but they're using that soy oil, the corn oil, in everything they're cooking with, especially on the salads, and you don't know it. And you're like, wow, I just feel bloated after I had that meal. It's the omega-6 fatty acids. So be aware of that. Be mindful.
Be mindful. And also, you have to remember that if you're cooking, substituting flours, almond flour is a super, super condensed bunch of nuts, basically. Yeah. I mean, yes. I know that I personally am sensitive to it. I could have a couple chocolate chip cookies that are made with almond flour or one piece of something, and I feel it.
Good point, Karen.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. That's right. We're not going to actually be here next week or the following week, but the following week we will. We'll send you messages. We'll try to
it's
do
summit.
a little live
it's the
on
summit
this.
Period
it's summit
here.
period.
So that's where the attention will be, and we hope you guys have registered for the summit. It's really going to be extraordinary. You're going to get so much information, and you have an ability to buy it then, the digital, so that you can go back and watch again, which is going to be really valuable because it is chock full.
Yeah, we're going to shift our gears, our focus now, from now all next week on summit. We're in summit mode right now.
Summit mode. But yeah, we may pop on or just him.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Right.
And
in the meantime, take care of yourself, be healthy, get back in keto, and spread the word.
All right, have a great one, guys. We'll see you.
Bye.